Yasu guys, Nico here, and in this video we're going to be making a Greek style baklava that is going to make your Yayan Bapur proud. It's going to have the crunch, the flavor, the sweetness. It's foolproof. I'm telling you, you can't go wrong. Ella, let's get started. First thing that we want to do is go ahead and prepare ourselves a syrup because we want to give this as much time as possible to cool down. So grab yourself a saucepan and start off by putting in 3 cups of sugar. So go ahead and tip all of that in there. Now once that's inside, grab 2 cups of water and just put that on top. The next thing that I'll do is just put in 1 tablespoon of honey. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab some whole cloves. I've got here about 6 cloves. Just tip them inside. 2 cinnamon sticks. Add the juice of 1 whole lemon. Just pop this in the squeezer. Beautiful. Alright, now what we want to do is put our syrup onto a high heat. We want to bring it to a boil and continue to mix it until all the sugar has been dissolved. So as you can see now, it's come to a complete boil. Now what we're going to do is turn this off, just put it aside and let it cool down. Alright, now the next step of this wild baklava is the nut mixture. To save time, I've already gone ahead and prepared 3 cups of almonds, 1 cup of walnuts, and I've just finished off 1 cup of pistachios. Go ahead and grab yourself a bowl, just pop this to the side, and now add in all the nuts. Now you don't need to use the exact nuts that I'm using, but what you do need to do in total for this recipe to work perfectly is use 5 cups of nuts. So add all that in there. And I'll just put my pistachios directly from the blender in here. Alright, now what we're going to do is just add a few things to the nut mixture. So go ahead and get yourself 1 tablespoon of sugar, pop that inside. Got 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, add that in, and 1 teaspoon of ground cloves. Pop that in, and then just give this all a good mix through. And honestly, this smells absolutely wild. Alright, now we're up to constructing our baklava. So grab yourself a dish. What I'm working with is roughly 40 centimeters by 27 centimeters. Just work with whatever you've got at home. To my left here, I've got my sheet of filo pastry. And to my right, I've got 250 grams of melted butter. So the first thing that we want to do is grab our butter and just coat the bottom of the dish. Completely coat it. Beautiful. Firstly, we're going to start off the bottom with 3 sheets of filo pastry. And you'll notice that my sheets are a little bit bigger than my dish that I'm using. But that's fine. All I do is just fold the one side in. Now, grab some butter, and we want to completely butter over these sheets here. Lovely. Now, what you're going to do is grab another 2 sheets of filo pastry, but this time have the fold on the opposite side of the dish if you're following along like I'm doing it here. Fold this as best as you can. Alright, well, now go ahead and put butter over these sheets again. Don't be shy with the butter. A little butter never hurt anybody. You just want to tuck in the corners as well with the brush. I try to avoid it coming up the sides as much as possible. Alright, killer. So we've done that. Now we're going to grab 1 cup of our nut mixture and we're going to evenly lay this over the top of this sheet. Cover the whole sheet nicely. Awesome. Alright, now you're going to grab another 3 sheets of filo pastry and you're going to pop this on top of the nut mixture. Fold it. Grab the butter and butter it all up again. Add another cup of the nut mixture over the top. And now we're going to continue doing this, laying 3 sheets, butter and nuts until we've gone through all of our nuts. You know, this recipe is quite simple. If I can do it, trust me, you guys can do it. Just easy for you to quickly whip it up and bring to a family event, a party, please your family, your Yayan Bapur, and blow their mind. Now some people like to butter each individual sheet. I just do it this way because it's a lot faster. I don't really see much difference, you know, buttering between 3 sheets, and it honestly comes out beautiful. Alright, now what we're going to do is grab 1 sheet of filo pastry, pop this over the top of our nuts, fold it as per normal, like you were doing when you were laying the 2 sheets or the 3 sheets, and we're going to go ahead and butter it. Now you're going to do this a total of 5 times. So we're going to have 5 individual sheets of filo pastry with butter, filo, just to finish off the top of our baklava. Now once you've got 1 sheet of filo pastry left, what I do is cut it up to the size of the dish that I'm using, just so you've got a nice finish on top of this baklava. So go ahead and pop this over the top nicely. And now what I do is I'll grab 2 tablespoons of water and just tip that into my butter before I give it a final coating. Just helps to add a bit of a shine on the baklava once it's finished cooking. And give this a really good final butter, covering everything as good as possible. Don't be shy with this butter at all. So you just want to make sure everything's tucked in as best as possible. Alright, now that we're done with the buttering, we're going to get started with our cutting. But before we do, we're going to preheat our oven to 200 degrees Celsius. This is the perfect time. So let's go ahead and preheat this oven and we'll grab ourselves a knife. Now the way I like to cut this is I start off by going straight down the middle this way first. And I don't cut all the way through to the bottom, but I still go fairly deep, pretty much over halfway. Now I cut each half into thirds. Now I move on to the other half and do the same thing, just cut it into sections of 3. Now what I do is I grab this dish, flip it this way so it's long ways in front of me, and I cut this into 3s, okay? So start from the top and just continue to work all the way down through to the bottom. And the last one, keep going all the way through. Beautiful. Now what I do is I go ahead and cut all my pieces into triangles. A lot of people go for diamonds, but just the way I've always been taught and the way my yard does it, she cuts it into nice triangles. So that's pretty simple. Just continue to slice diagonally through your squares. Right, beautiful. So we finished cutting our baklava. We've got 36 triangles here. So you can give it one final coating of butter over the top if you like before you go ahead and pop this in the oven. This next step is optional. I go ahead and add 1 clove in the top of every piece of baklava. I know this is time consuming and that's another reason why this part here is optional. But you know what, I just reckon it's killer and just adds a little bit more decoration to our baklava. Just shows a bit more love. Beautiful. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. So that's what mine looks like before I pop this in the oven. Temperature's ready, sitting at 200 degrees Celsius. We're gonna leave it in there for 20 minutes. After that, we're gonna turn it down to 100 degrees for another 40 minutes. Keep an eye on it because you wanna take it out when it's golden brown. All right, so the baklava has been cooked. It was roughly 1 hour in the oven. Now have a look at that. Unreal. Okay, so what we now need to do is grab our syrup and pour it on top while it's hot. Now this syrup is completely cooled. It needs to be cooled down before you pop it on. But you tip it onto the baklava as soon as it comes out of the oven while it's scorching hot. Now once you've got the syrup on top of the baklava, you want to let this sit for a few hours and really let it absorb into the baklava. Alright guys, I'm going to remove the cinnamon sticks. I'm going to cut it up right down through to the bottom now, and then I'm going to have a slice and just give it a try. Oh my god, listen to that crunch. Oh. Don't forget to take out the clove before you eat it. Jeez, have a look at that. If you don't enjoy this, I don't know what's wrong with you. Give it a shot. It's absolutely amazing.